Acharyam Ekabam Badarayanam Sutrabhashyakritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavat Vyapta Dehaye Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Om Namah Pranavarthaye Shuddha Jnanaikamurtaye Nirmalaya Prashantaye Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sah Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Kataksha Kiranakshant Naman Mohabdaye Namah.
कटाक्ष किरणाचान्त नमन
कटाक्षकिरणाचान्तनमन्मोहाब्धये नमः।
मोहाब्दये नमः।
अनंतानंद कृष्णाय
अनंतानंद
अनन्तानन्दकृष्णाय
कृष्णाय
जगन्मंगलमूर्तये.
जगन्मङ्गलमूर्तये
जगन्मङ्गलमूर्तये।
जगन्मङ्गलमूर्तये।
Right. We were on the 15th verse, if I remember. But I think we've done a little bit of that already, right?
Page 151, we have to start.
Who will do the reading?
Shall I do it today, Swami?
Yeah, sure. Read the verse first.
न च स्वजन्मनाशं वा द्रष्टुमर्हति कश्चन तौ हि प्रागुत्तराभाव चरमप्रथमक्षणौ.
What is the immediate meaning that stands out? Swajanma, one's own birth, and nasham, one's own death. Swajanma nasham va drashtum arhati kashchana. Nobody is capable of seeing one's own janma and one's own mrityu. Now, so you assume that we're talking about an intelligent individual. We're not talking about a pot being born and a pot being destroyed. An intelligent individual cannot see his own birth, cannot see his own death. And what is the second line? Tauhi praguttara bhava. These are prag abhava and uttara bhava. And charam, the kshanam, the immediate period after. Prathama kshanam, pradakshanam, the end and the beginning, you can't see. Beginning of the birth you can't see, the end of beginning of the death also you can't see. That is the general meaning. Why prag abhava and uttara bhava? We know that anything that exists in time t1 till time t2. It's all in the time frame only. What is there prior to the time t1? Prag, abhava. It is not there. That individual whom we are trying to identify, who cannot see his or her own birth, cannot see it because there is prag abhava. That abhava, that kshanam, the last kshanam of abhava, that individual is not there. Abhava. Therefore, how can he see his own birth? The same logic applies for uttara bhava. So, this concept of prag bhava and uttara bhava as a way to understand birth and death makes it very clear that nobody can know his or her own birth, and nor can they know his or her own death, because of this concept of abhava. Okay, let's go to where we left it and read from there.
Starting from 151 page.
Okay.
Like the first moment of the life of the Ghata, Ghatasya Prathama Kshanam is the last moment of its Pragabhava. When the Pragabhava is destroyed, it is the Prathama Kshana of the Vikari. We make use of the idea of Pragabhava here. When Ghata Pragabhava is destroyed, it is the Prathama Kshana of the Ghata Janma, and that is perceived by you. But you, Atma, were not there to see the last moment of the Pragabhava of yourself. Since Atma was not there, it cannot recognize its birth. To recognize its birth, it has to recognize the last moment of its own Pragabhava, meaning the point up to when it was not there. Only when it was not there, so far can you say it has arrived.
Yeah. So oneself cannot see one's own creation, the creation of oneself. But somebody else can see. Another entity outside our concept of the self can see. You can see the pot getting formed. You are not the pot. You can see a child being born. You're not the child. So it has to be an external thing to that, which must exist prior to this birth, which means Prague also it should be there, and should also be there in the same thing should be there also when the other entity which you're trying to understand is existing. Similarly, at the end, which also I'm sure we will cover. So the first moment of the life, Ghatasya Prathama Kshanam is the last moment of the. So here when he says Atma, we're talking about the Atma, the self, I. Not the Atma, because here later on you have to argue that Atma therefore has to be an unchanging same, because earlier also we've discussed this. If the seer is constantly changing, then he can't see. It has to be the same seer. So that is going to develop on that, I'm sure. To recognize his birth, it has to be recognized the last moments of its own Pragabhava, meaning the point up to when it was not there. Only when it was not there, so far can you say it has arrived. Because it was not there so far, it is now, we can say it has arrived. Clear? No confusion there? Okay, we'll go to the next one.
Nasham departed means so far he was here.
Recording
Now,
in progress.
This can be multiple devices, I think.
Yeah. Please continue.
that is Pradvamsha Abhava. The Prathama Kshana of the Pradvamsha Abhava, the first moment of the later non-existence, is called Nasha. The Prathama Kshana, the first moment of the later non-existence, and the last moment of prior non-existence are what are called death and birth respectively.
That's a good definition for birth and death, no? The first moment of non-existence is death. Actually, this moment also is important to understand. It is not a interval of time. It has to be, how small can you break it? I don't know. Nanosecond, whatever the break, other thing you can break it, but that it is like now. There is no interval. That now, that interval is a good definition. The last moment of the prior non-existence is called birth. And the first moment of the non-existence coming up is birth, is death. Interesting.
But Swamiji, like, however small it may be, it will always be length of time, right? Because previously we also discussed that time is always a length. There is not a single.
It's like understanding now is not a length of time. Something like that. Because you can keep on breaking it. And because why I would want to get into that is because then I would say, if I break it into, let's say, nanosecond, then I would say I break it further into half the nanosecond, I was not there, and the next half of the nanosecond I was there. I don't want to get into that argument.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
I am not there after my departure, death, to mark the first moment of Pradvamsha Abhava. I was not there to mark the last moment of my Pragabhava, to mark my birth. Therefore, I can mark neither my own birth nor can I mark my own death. It is not possible because an observer, other than the one being born or dying, other than the Vikari, is necessary. The observer should survive the departure to recognize the absence. Then only he can say departed. Therefore, departed is only when the absence is recognized. Similarly, an observer must be there prior to arrival to recognize end of prior absence to say arrived. Therefore, an observer must be there prior to birth and after death for the event of birth and death to be recorded. That observer we are talking about. That observer, if it is born, if it has got this vikara of birth, etc., cannot know its own birth. There should be another nirvikara sakshi to recognize all the vikaras, and therefore nirvikaraha eva atma sakshi.
Beautifully is developed the argument about we have to recognize this. See, we can also infer. Today I exist, therefore I must have been born. But I cannot know when I was born. I can infer that I must have been born, and I have records, birth certificate, tells you were born so-and-so day at so-and-so time, etc. Your horoscope is cast accordingly. But it's not possible for one to know one's own birth directly. So something else is obviously there. And that something is a nirvikalpa, which he calls Atma. Nirvikara eva Atma. Because everything else is vikari.
So it's like saying that all the events in time should be seen by something that is away from time, right?
Correct.
Outside time.
Absolutely correct. That's the point I'm trying to make. That's not subject to time.
In fact, there is no prior existence, posterior non-existence for Sakshi Atma. With reference to a vritti, we can understand these ideas. Suppose a ghata vritti is there in your mind now. What are you thinking idanim now? Now I am thinking of a pot. When you say I am thinking of a pot, how do you say that you are thinking of a pot now? Because previously I was not thinking of it. So, how do you know that previously you were not thinking of it? Because I was there. As what? As a Sakshi, I was there, not thinking of a pot. Therefore, I am the witness of Praga Bhava of the Ghata Vritti. What are you thinking now? Are you thinking of the pot still? No. I am tired of it. It is gone. How do you know it is gone? Because I am the survivor of Pradvamsha Bhava. I am the observer of the Pradvamsha Bhava of the Ghata Vritti. That means what? For me, the observer, Sakshi, there is no Praga Bhava, there is no Pradvamsha Bhava. Therefore, I am Nitya Aparoksha. Understand? What is Nitya? What is Aparoksha here? Nitya Aparoksha?
Paroksha is what?
Indirect knowledge.
Directly seeable, directly perceivable. So aparoksha is not which is not available for direct perception. Nitya aparoksha is that which is not available for direct perception, which is only the subject. Everything, any object will always be availability, if not paroksha, certainly as a indirect form of knowing.
Witness, we can say here.
Sorry?
Witness, we can say here.
Not even witness. It is witness. Sakshi, we keep calling, we keep using the word witness. I'm always afraid that we'll immediately connect with the witness that we use in the Jagat.
No, okay.
So as long as we understand it correctly, I have no problem.
Nitya aparokshatva for the Atma means there is no praga bhava for the Atma. There is no pradvamsha bhava. To say Atma had a praga bhava, there must be another Atma to talk about this Atma. Ahankara has praga bhava, etc. We can say, because in deep sleep it was not there. Later it comes, therefore, bhava abhavanam, there is a sakshi. That sakshi is bhava abhavayoho sakshi. So that sakshi of the vijnanasya bhava and vijnanasya abhava has no bhava and abhava. Therefore, नाशतो विद्यते भावः न भावो विद्यते सतः. Satah atmanah abhavah na vidyate. When it is said abhavah na vidyate, then its bhava is not pratiyogi of abhava. It is not an abhava pratiyogi because abhavah na vidyate. Only if it is subject to abhava, it becomes abhava pratiyogi bhavaha. When you say ghataha san, what is? It is sun meant along with, right, Swamiji?
No, here sun means being. If you want to translate it,
Asti hoga na wo to.
Gata, sun means being Gata. Gata being there.
Exists.
But like in Bhashya, we say,
Saha, along with the Saha, that's not sun.
oh, that is Saha.
Hmm.
Okay. It is an abhava pratyogi, which means it is subject to become absent. Until it is dead, until it is destroyed, the Gata is. Therefore, it is an abhava pratyogi.
Interesting, this paragraph also. In the Jagat, everything has an opposite, Dvandva. Bhava also has abhava. Knowledge has ignorance. Ananda has Anananda. Everything has an opposite. In fact, I think this whole scale, there is one end and the other end, and then whatever in between. Atma cannot be like that. Anything which is Dvandva, you can immediately say it is part of the Jagat. So here also he's saying Abhava, Atma has no Abhava, no non-existence. Because earlier it proved that the statement that Divyansh made is very good, that it is not subject to time. Bhava, Abhava happen in time. This is not subject to time. Therefore, there is no Abhava for this. Abhava and Bhava, existence, non-existence, is for everything which is Jagat, any object. Very nice argument in this paragraph. Yeah.
When we say Sataha Abhavaha na vidyate, what does it mean? Sat is Bhava, alright, but it is not Abhava Pratyogi. So it's not in the Lokika term we are saying. If it is Abhava Pratyogi, it will become Abhava in time because it is one of the horns of the opposites. Therefore, Sataha Abhavaha na vidyate means Sat is not an Abhava Pratyogi. It is a Bhava which is not subject to become a Bhava. Therefore, Nityam. That is why it is called Nityam. Nitya Sakshi Swarupa means Nitya Chit Rupaha. It is Bhava Abhava Rahitaha. It is not Bhava or Abhava. That is called Nitya Bhava.
Now, if you understand Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, the Bhatshyartha for them, the word meaning that we use in normal day-to-day usage and anything applied to Jagat, that Satyam will have Asat also. That Jnanam will have Ajnanam also. That let's take Ananda, easier to understand, will have Anananda also. But all six of them depend for their existence on the one Chaitanya. For want of words which will express Chaitanya, we use Satyam Jnanam Anandam or Anandam. Satchit Ananda. That's why repeatedly Shastra says, please look at the Lakshyartha of these padas. Sat, Chit and Ananda. Satchit Anandanam Padanam Lakshyarthameva Atma, Brahman. Therefore, Sataha Abhava na vidyate. Bhagavad Gita.
But Swamiji, like for many people, like including I think myself beforehand, it will, like if you tell them that this is not that Ananda, but we talk in Lokika terms, then their motivation will become less. Because most, like in the, let's say in the kathas and let's say ISKCON itself, like when they say that your nature is Satchit Ananda, you are bliss. So most people are in towards that only, that there is some kind of Ananda that
Nothing
will
wrong. Nothing wrong. You can go there also. It depends on how far one has evolved. See, in any this sadhana, these are steps. Same thing, for example, in your sadhana, all the adhikaritam, how do you gain? There are many processes shown here, but essentially what are you doing? Moving up from tamas predominance to rajas predominance to sattvam predominant. That's a good target to go on, satyam predominant life. But that is not moksha. Many people will say, "Thik, I don't care moksha. I want a life which is ananda." Okay, try it. You will get some ananda. In fact, I told you once, I've seen a lot of people who have been practicing Sri Sri Ravi Shankar's that Kriya, Sudarshan Kriya. And I have seen a change in them. When you practice that sincerely for several months, you can see a change in the person. So it is very good. But that change is also laukika only. But very good because it gets you ready. You go to Saptapidaman, but then what? Traigunya Vishaya Vedaha Nistraigunyam Bhava Arjuna. You have to transcend that also. But till one understands this, that is a very good way of going. One can progress to a state where one is ready for that jump, for the leap. Because you cannot get that till you have achieved certain relative sukha, certain relative contentment. Apekshika sukha. Therefore, those are all very good. That's why I am all in favor of people like Sri Sri Ravi Shankar or even ISKCON or even Jaggi Vasudev. They do a great job. They do a great job because they help people to keep moving up to a point where they can get into launching pad. Not perhaps in this Janma, maybe next Janma. But they're getting ready for that. So absolutely nothing wrong with that. So anybody who gets into, or take bhakti for example. There are a lot of people who are great bhaktas. A lot of people are great karmatas. They say, I'll follow Veda to the letter. That also Bhagavan says in the third chapter. You remember what does he say? Memory fails me. Remember that verse? Na buddhi bhedam janayet ajnanam karma sanginam joshayet sarva karmani vidvan yuktas samacharan. Joshayet, allow them, help them, encourage them. Why? It is not that they're going to get moksha by doing karma, but their own readiness will get better and better. I remember some people coming to Swamiji and explaining what she does, and she's a great bhakta who sits and sings to Bhagavan. She has her own Ishtadevata and really deeply involved. Goes to all the temples and sings in the temple, has a lot of experiences in the temple. Swami also told her, very good, you please continue doing what you're doing. But as you evolve, there'll come a point when you start looking at it a little more objectively. Yeah.
Questioner, you say bhava abhavabhyam anyah
Abhavabhyam.
abhavabhyam anyah atma means atma cannot be categorically said to be either bhava or abhava. But the status of everything is only known by the words. Bhava is or abhava is not.
Bhava is Satyam, is existence. Yeah.
Swamiji, Atma is bhava, but bhava which is not abhava pratyogi. Therefore, nitya bhava. Should I read the footnote? Swamiji?
Yeah. Let's see what he says in the footnote.
The bhava and abhava that the questioner is talking about pertain to objects in time which have a pratyogi, means bhava can become abhava and abhava can become bhava. Nitya bhava is that ever existent, ever evident presence, aparoksha chaitanya atma, which lends satta and sfurti to the existent objects categorized by
Characterized
anitya,
by. Characterized by.
characterized by anitya bhava. The recognition of anitya bhava requires the presence of a nitya bhava, a nitya avikari sakshi, which is presented as Satchidananda Lakshana Atma.
Clear? What Swami is trying to say? These pratiyogi, sukha, dukkha, jnanam, ajnanam, they cannot coexist. They are pratiyogi. So when sukham comes, dukkham can't be there. When dukkham comes, sukham disappears. And that these are dvandva we keep talking about, and that all belongs to objects because they're all in time. So one time one is sukhi, little later one is dukhi. Then again one is sukhi, then again dukhi, and so on. The lakshartha of these words, Sat Chit Ananda, does not brook any pratyogi. All these three words mean the same thing. They all mean that Atma, consciousness, Chaitanyam, it does not allow a pratyogi.
Nitya bhavatvam nityatvam atmanaha. Why? Because janma nasho prag uttara abhavayoho charam prathama kshanau, and there is no way for the vikari vastu to see its own janma or nasha, to say, I am a vikari. If Atma is a vikari, there is no way of Atma knowing that. The very fact that we are aware of the abhava of the ahankara shows that Atma is a bhava without being a pratyogi to abhava. Therefore, Shunyavada also is gone, and Shanika Vijnanavada also is gone. And any other vada that may be there, like Atma is Karta, Bhokta, etc. All these vadas are gone because Karta, Bhokta, etc. are all Vikarinaha. Karta is Vikari, Bhokta is Vikari. But I am the Sakshi, Vikaravatam Vetta. So, Aham Vikaravatam Vetta, Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti are the Vikaras, and that which is Nirvikari in all the avasthas is Atma, Sakshi Atma. Sa Atma Brahma, Nirvikari Brahma, that which is not subject to modification. Ataha Siddham, Aham Brahma Satchidananda Lakshanam.
This is comparing the last, I think, 2 or 3 verses. No? Anything which is vikari has to have a nirvikara, another object to know the vikara. So that sakshi is vikaravatam veta. It's the previous verse. So aham vikaravatam veta. And then I think previous that was the Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti, Vikaras. That also is summing up here. But would anybody like to sum up these last 3 verses to see if it can help all of us?
So I think like we are saying that like mostly Atma is Nirvikari. So Atma is not...
Mostly nahi. Why mostly?
No,
Only.
like mostly in this like in these verses, the Tatparya is that Atma is Nirvikari and like it is not subject to samsara. So because Atma cannot know its own pre-existence and its death as well. So, because to see that we will need another observer,
Hmm.
and that we don't have. So, and we say that all the changes take place in time, and since Atma perceives time, then Atma must be beyond time as well.
Correct.
Um,
Any other inputs to add to what Devanshu said? Jagdishan, you are on mute if you are trying to say something.
Atma never dies or never is born. So where is the question of Vivian saying that?
For a moment, you assume somebody argues, no, Atma is also born, Atma also dies. What is the counter argument to that?
how do you know?
Suppose you say Atma is also born, somebody comes and argues with us, saying Atma is also born, Atma also dies. What is the counter argument? How do you counter that argument?
How do you know? Who sees that, like, kind of?
Anybody, please.
Yeah, like who sees the death and birth of Atma means there is another Atma which is seeing the birth and death. So hence Atma
Like
can, there has to be one Atma which is Sakshi and which doesn't see, which sees all the Vikaris, but it is not a Vikari itself.
Can't have Vikari itself. Correct.
And so basically it is Adhisthana for entire Jagat and whatever is happening in the Jagat, it is the Adhisthana on which all the changes takes place.
There is only one Atma, and that's it. That's ever self-indulgent.
But here the question comes: who you are? How you are that Atma? There could be only one thing is that okay, there is one Atma which is seeing everything. But how you Aham Brahma Asmi? How are you going to prove it?
It pervades every object.
No, I'm asking that. I'm asking that only. We are all now. We have come to a stage where we know everything, but only as a food for thought I'm giving. So, as a Purapakshi, I'm asking, like, how you are saying that, okay, I know, I agree that there is one Atma, which is Sarva Vyapakam, which is seeing every Vikaris, but how are you saying that I am that Atma? Aham Brahmasmi, Tattvamasi. How are you going to show? I think that will come in the subsequent.
So, like, when we say that the reality of Tat and reality of Tvam
Are
is same
same.
thing, then I can't be different away from that, right? I
Exactly.
will also
Yeah.
be that.
Yeah. At that level, the both are same. Comparing the properties of this individual eye and that eye which is all pervading, when you see both are same, hence we are both the same. Tattvamasi.
But a jnani, he has transcended all that. He is.
But we are all striving to be gnani, so we have to understand how the gnani is thinking, no, sir.
Correct. No, what you say is also correct. This is exactly what you're doing, a step-by-step operation.
Yeah. I'm just giving a food for thought, which is going to come up.
Any other inputs?
And I think like Swamiji also ended all the Vadas here, that like Shunyavada and Kshanikavada is gone. And then we have like in all other Vadas also, Atma is either a Bhokta or a Karta, going somewhere, doing something, getting something. So since because Atma is Nirvikari, so it can't be a Karta and a Bhokta. So that is also not possible.
Good. Any other inputs for anybody else? Those people who are not on video, I hope you are able to hear all the arguments and grasp what is being said. If you have any questions, any doubts, please raise them. We can take it up in the group.
So I think these verses also are saying that in order to realize that the Atma and Brahman are, to realize the identity between Atma and Brahman, it's important to separate oneself from the material world and the material body. And not just that, but also realize that Atma is free from all the attributes that are typically associated with the material, the Jagat and the body. So that's starting from the three states of experience, which is again for the body but not for the Atma, and then moving on to how the Atma is a witness of all the changes that occur in the Jagat, the body, and the Antakarna, but Atma itself is changeless and is there as a Sakshi.
We'll move on. There's no other inputs coming in. Yeah.
Verse 16. Satchidanandam Brahma Aham Asmi iti jnanena. By this knowledge, samsara nivritti. This is the pratigna.
I was just flipping the pages and I find the Swami has written several pages before coming to the actual verse. Maybe a good idea just to read the verse once and then read what Swami has to say, so we can relate to it.
न प्रकाशेऽहमित्युक्तिः यत्प्रकाश निबन्धना स्वप्रकाशं तमात्मानम् अप्रकाश कथं स्पृशेत्.
Okay. We'll leave it there for the time being. We'll go back and see what Swami has to say about this and then read it later. Yeah.
Satchidanand. Okay, I'll start from the start. Satchidanandam Brahma Aham Asmi iti jnanena. By this knowledge, samsara nivritti. This is the pratigna. Okay, I am the Satchidananda Brahma. Aikyam. If this is so, atah siddham Satchidananda Brahma Lakshanam Aham Asmi, then how come one says, I do not know? You say Atma is Swaprakashaha Sakshi Nirvikaraha. So, it cannot be ignorant. It cannot mistake itself. And because it is Nirvikaraha, it cannot undergo any change whatsoever. Then how come Aham na prakashe means as Satyam Jnanam Anantam Aham na prakashe iti yuktihi?
Okay, here, the word aham na prakashe means that I don't know.
I don't know.
That is what the meaning of that phrase is. Aham na prakashe. I don't know. How is it appropriate? Is it uktihi?
So he's talking about Lokika knowledge.
Yeah.
That's
In all these arguments, I find that the moment you differentiate between looking at it from a Vyavarika perspective and looking at it from a Paramarthika perspective, things fall in place. In almost all of these. So I wanted to just make sure that Prakasha, otherwise we say Swayam Prakasha is self-revealing. Aham na Prakashe means I do not know.
This anubhava is there. I do not know. I am ignorant. How that's possible? And people don't say aham swaprakashaha. Then one has to say it is ajnanat on account of ajnanam.
Again, you can see that the problem is confusing between I, the individual, I, the Atma. That is the confusion here.
Questioner. This ajnanam kutra vartate? Where does ignorance exist? If you ask me, it has to be only in the Atma. Vishaya for ajnana is Atma. The ashraya for this ignorance is also the Atma, because everything is Atma Shraya, including Ajnanam. So, the Ashraya for the Atma Ajnana and the object of that Ajnana is Atma alone. Atma is not the object, right? Okay. So, when I come to know Atma, I will see Ajnanam there. then I will say Agnoham and not Shivoham. Like if I see a blue pot, the blue color has Ashraya in the pot. So when I see the pot, I will see the blue color. Similarly, when I come to know Atma, I will come to know Ajnanam. By the way, it's not talking about Jnanam, it's only talking about Ajnanam. You
Yes.
will see both, right?
Because it started with this sentence, no, that I don't know.
Yes.
I don't know Atma. See, what is the first sentence? Satchidananda Brahma Aham Asmi, that I don't know. Iti Jnanena, by this knowledge, samsara is nivritti. If I know that there is no samsara, I understand that. This is the pratigya. If this is so, atha siddham, Satchidananda Brahma Lakshanam Aham Asmi, then how come one says, I do not know? That is the question he is raising. I do not hear, so he is all the way talking about Ajnanam. How do you say I don't know?
Therefore, there is no Ajnana Nivritti. And if you say Ajnanat due to ignorance, Samsaraha, then Samsara Nivritti also is not there unless there is Ajnana Nivritti. Only when Ajnana Nivritti is possible can you say that Ajnana is the cause, the Hetu, for this Kartritvadi Samsara. And that by Ajnana Nivrittihi, Samsara Nivrittihi will take place, and what remains after knowledge is Badhita Anuvritti, etc. But this Ajnana, how is it going to be removed? Because it has got its Ashraya in the Atma itself. So there is no possibility of Ajnana Nivritti. And moreover, this Swaprakasha Atma is not opposed to Ajnanam. Otherwise, it cannot be the locus for this ignorance. It is Swaprakasha Atma and it is Ajnanasya Avirodhi. So, being unopposed to ignorance, there is no way of this ignorance being removed by Atma. Ajnanam is Jadam or Chetanam. Okay. Swamiji makes an important observation at this point. Generally, Ajnanam, they say is Jadam. I will not say that. I will not say it is Jadam or Ajadam because this Ajnanam itself is
Ajnana.
Ajnanam. Oh, this Jada Ajada Vibhaga is also within Ajnanam.
Ajnana.
It's making it very complex.
Ajnanam Jadam. Atma is unopposed to this Ajnanam. According to you, Atmanaha Anyat Sarvam Jadam. Ajnanam cannot be removed by Jada. A Jada Vritti cannot oppose another Jadam. Jada Ajnanam. Jadasya Jadaha na Virodhi. Therefore, how are you going to eliminate Ajnanam, which is the cause for samsara? Therefore, Ajnanasya na Nivrittihi. Virodhi Abhavat. Therefore, samsara nivritti is also not there. Further, if ajnanam atmani asti, this ajnanam is it the swarupa of Atma. You say it is not the swarupa because Chaitanya Sakshi is the swarupa. Then ajnanam cannot be part of it. Therefore, ajnanam atmani nasti. Then there should be no samsara for Atma. But samsara is my experience. Samsara is not anatma samsara, it is mama samsara alone. If it is anatma samsara, it wouldn't bother me. I need not take care of it. But it is my samsara. Therefore, ajnanam should be with me. And that's not possible. Atmanah Chaitanya Swarupatvat. Therefore, Ajnanam Nasti. And when there is no Ajnanam, how is samsara nivritti by Ajnana nivritti possible?
You're breaking up, Divyansh. The sound is breaking.
No, it's okay for us, Swamiji. Maybe
Internet issues.
internet issue for Swamiji.
I can't hear him clearly. Can you?
Yes, Swamiji.
No, my internet is giving
Yeah,
problem.
your internet.
You can turn off your video, Swamiji.
I will probably have to cut off video. Yeah.
But I think these Purva Pakshi arguments are very complicated. Like,
Yeah. I think we should read it once again.
I'm not able to follow what he's
Round
saying.
and round,
Really
round
worth
and
reading
तुम्हारा
again.
तब से.
Really worth reading again. Not only
Yeah, it
worth
is.
again,
This Swami,
worth
otherwise
reading
we'll
again.
not.
We should also try and see where is the fallacy in the argument. Read it carefully and let's try and identify. Let's do it as an exercise for the next class. Let's finish reading this. We stop there. We're almost time anyway. And I request all of you to read it again and look at where the errors are, where the problem is. So there's quite a bit more. Quite a bit more.
So isn't Ajnanam in the mind?
Yeah.
And not in the Atma? I mean,
Correct.
it's in the mind.
That's what I wanted to read.
Yeah.
This. We'll probably have to read
Yeah.
this again, like you said, but there's so much more so many more pages of argument I can see. We will have to read it again.
Okay.
If Ajnanam alone is in the mind, then Jnanam also is, you can restrict it to mind. I mean, going with your argument, with your thought process, then so it will put us in a spin anyway. That's what we are just discussing. Because this suddenly he brings this topic of Ajnanam, which is actually out of the blue. Till now we have been thinking about Gnanam, Satyam, Gnanam, Anantam, Brahma, and then now he suddenly brings in Agnanam, Satyam, Agnanam, Chaitanyam, Brahma type. He has brought the Pura Pakshi. So now we have to, I don't know how to come out
How
of
does
it.
he arrive at the fact that Ajnanam is in the Atma?
Atma.
In the first 3-4 paragraphs, is contrived certain arguments to show that it's in the Atma. So that itself we have to study carefully and see where is the fallacy in that argument. Because once you negate that, then everything else will follow.
As long as we are convinced that the Adhishtanam is only one,
Correct.
and that is Brahman, this Jnanam and Ajnanam does not come at all. Adhishtanam, Brahman, is only effulgent and it's pure knowledge alone. Sat Chit Anand. So, what we need to have conviction is, it is Adhishtanam is only one, pure consciousness, or Brahman, whatever you want to say. And there is no question of Ajnanam in that. It is self-effulgent, it is knowledge per se.
Not per se. Is
So,
it because
the superimposition, the adhyasa, which makes it.
Jagdishanji, is it because Shastra is saying so you blindly believe it, or we are going to go with Pura Pakshi is the argument here? Yeah, I agree to your point, saying that okay, we are having that Satyam, then Satyam Gnanam Anantam Brahma, fine. Then what about this Satyam Gnanam Anantam Brahma?
This asatyam or whatever you want to say, darkness.
No, I cannot go by saying whatever you want to say. You have to prove me.
Is adhyaropa. It's been superimposed on Atma.
So I think Purva Pakshi is not recognizing there is a different order of reality. So when
Purvapakshi's job is to put a spoke in the wheel, and he does it successfully, and then sometimes Ratnam also does it.
No, I'm not doing. No, I'm giving it a food for thought. Please understand, Jagdishanji, I'm giving a food for thought.
No, but as long as we are convinced there is only one Atma, and that is pure consciousness, it is Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, Ananda, then anything else is an adhyaropa. It's a superimposition.
Then why attend all these classes? I already understood.
This is what we all understood. What the Purvapakshi is trying to say, we have to read his argument.
Okay.
And see where the error in his argument is.
So
he is trying to prove that Ajnanam is in the Atma. That Atma is the locus for Ajnanam. So he's trying to do that. But obviously there is an error somewhere there.
Yeah.
3 points he's trying to raise. Then one second point he's raising is that is Ajnanam the Swarupa of Atma? But we say no, Swarupa of Atma is consciousness, Chaitanyam. So again he's bringing some same argument he's bringing out. And then the third argument, which is not read yet, is saying, thirdly, this jnanam is nishphalam, it's useless. So we'll read all of these three. May I request all of you to please read this at your leisure. We have a 3-4 days gap. And then when we meet on Monday, let's together review this. And it'd be wonderful if everybody can participate.
Yeah.
Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamadachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Vadaha.
Thank you.
Namaskaraha.
Om Swami.
Om
Hari Om
Shanti.
Swami.